Inaugurations usually aren't anything to write home about. The new president is sworn in, they make a speech, sprinkle in some fanfare and viola. The ceremony is complete. But a quick look into past inaugurations proves they're worth the watch, if only for the unexpected moments. Here are some surprising inauguration moments throughout United States history. These stories will blow your mind. Welcome back to Re-Inspired Adventures. I'm John, and let's get started. Number 1, 1789, George Washington borrowed money to attend his own inauguration. It's hard to believe, but our first president, George Washington, was so cash-strapped that he had to borrow money just to make it to New York City for his inauguration. Washington even admitted to his nephew that part of the reason he accepted the presidency was for the salary. During his second inauguration, the nation's first president gave the shortest inaugural address. With a succinct 135 words, George Washington thanked the American people for the distinguished honor and reminded them of the oath he would take, short and to the point. Number 2, 1817, James Monroe took the ceremony outdoors. Back in 1817, Congress couldn't agree on where to hold James Monroe's inauguration. The House and Senate were arguing over which chamber should host the event, and Monroe got so frustrated that he decided to move everything outdoors. This was a bold move at the time, but it set the stage for most modern inaugurations to be held in open spaces, unless bad weather gets in the way. Number 3, 1829, Andrew Jackson's chaotic White House bash. Andrew Jackson threw a party to remember, or forget, depending on who you ask. After his swearing in, he opened the White House doors to the public, and over 20,000 people stormed in. The crowd got so out of control that Jackson had to sneak out through a side door, or maybe even a window, to escape. He spent the night at a hotel while staff lured the crowd outside with tubs of whiskey punch. Now that's one way to end a party. Number 4, 1841. William Henry Harrison's long speech turned deadly. William Henry Harrison made history with the longest inauguration speech, over 2 hours long. But here's the catch. He delivered it on a freezing, rainy day without wearing a coat or hat. Unsurprisingly, he caught a cold that turned into pneumonia. Just 32 days later, he passed away, marking the shortest presidency in U.S. history. Number 5, 1857. James Buchanan forgot to pick up Franklin Pierce. Here's a funny one. James Buchanan showed up at his inauguration ready to go, but someone forgot to pick up the outgoing president, Franklin Pierce, from his hotel. The ceremony had to be delayed for 20 minutes, while someone rushed to get him. Definitely not the smoothest handoff in presidential history. Number 6, 1865. Andrew Johnson's whiskey-fueled oath. Andrew Johnson's inauguration as vice president wasn't exactly smooth. He had several glasses of whiskey to fight an illness and ended up giving a slurred, rambling speech during his swearing-in ceremony. It was so bad that some people called for his resignation. Thankfully, Abraham Lincoln defended him, saying, "Andy's not a drunk. He just made a mistake." Number 7, 1865. John Wilkes Booth was at Lincoln's second inauguration. Abraham Lincoln's second inauguration came just months before the end of the Civil War. Tensions were high, and worries about the president's safety lingered. Despite heightened security, John Wilkes Booth, the man who would fatally shoot President Lincoln just more than a month later, was photographed standing on the same stage during the address, along with several other conspirators in the assassination plot. Booth later told a friend that he had the perfect opportunity to kill the president that day, but chose not to. It's eerie to think how close he was. Number 8, 1953. Eisenhower got lassoed by a cowboy. At Dwight D. Eisenhower's inauguration, a cowboy named Monty Montana rode up on horseback and threw a lasso around the president. The American infatuation with on-screen cowboys was at such a peak that Monty Montana was included in the ceremony. Though Montana initially suggested presenting the president with a 10-gallon cowboy hat, it's one of the wackiest moments in inauguration history, and we have the photos to prove it. Number 9, 1961. JFK's podium caught fire. John F. Kennedy's inauguration was full of surprises. First, a snowstorm almost cancelled it. Then, during the ceremony, a motor inside the podium caught fire, sending smoke everywhere. Oh, and poet Robert Frost couldn't read his poem because of the sun reflecting off the snow. Instead, he recited an older one from memory and mistakenly dedicated it to someone named John Finley. What a day. Number 10, 1973, Nixon's pigeon problem. Richard Nixon's team wanted his inauguration to be perfect, so they sprayed trees along the parade route with bird repellent. But instead of flying away, the pigeons ate the spray, got sick, and fell to the ground. The parade route ended up dotted with dead and dying birds. Talk about a disaster. Number 11, 1993, Bill Clinton, a non-traditional parade. Bill Clinton prioritized diversity for his inaugural celebration. Rather than the traditional parade marches of military cadets and equestrian teams, Clinton included a reggae band and lawn chair drill team. Members drill with lawn chairs in his inauguration parade. The procession also included an Elvis Presley impersonator on a float with members of the late musician's original band. Number 12, 2009, Obama's oath do-over. Barack Obama's first inauguration actually happened twice. During the swearing-in ceremony, Chief Justice John Roberts of the US Supreme Court stumbled over the oath, leading Obama to mix up his words. To be safe, they redid the entire thing in private the next day. Despite the mix-up, Obama's first inauguration drew a record crowd of 1.8 million people. Number 13, 2021, Biden's unusual inauguration. Joe Biden took the same oath of office as his 45 predecessors. But this inauguration did not resemble the transfers of power Americans have become accustomed to. Biden and the other dignitaries on stage wore face masks and bump fists. And to top it off, there were no spectators on the National Mall, which was fenced off after the attack on the Capitol that left 5 people dead. The Capitol complex was guarded by roughly 25,000 National Guard troops from across the country, more than at any time since the Civil War. And that's a wrap on some of the craziest and funniest moments in presidential inauguration history. Which one was your favorite? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more amazing stories. See you next time.